So I'd like to demonstrate now, just from the very beginning, how to put your rod together to get set up for fishing with a floating line today. So here's my rod. It happens to be a 4-piece rod. Many of the rods you buy today, they're 4-piece because they're easy to pack and travel with, and the ferruling system is indistinguishable from a rod that's 1 piece. So they've really perfected the ferrule system. So we're going to take our rod and we're going to just put the 4 pieces together. And you're not going to jam it in hard, just snug. So it's snugly in there. And then top 2 pieces snug. And then we've got the main piece. So your typical fly rod for lake fishing should be 9 to 10 feet in length. So 9.5 is perfect. 9-foot rods are great for full sinking fly lines. And when you're fishing with a floating rod, our floating lines, 9.5 or 10 foot is great. So this is a 9.5 rod in a 6 weight. So we have fly rods come in different weighting systems. So like a 1 weight through 14 weight. So to give you an idea of what you use for what. So you'd use a 2 weight for fishing small creeks for small fish. And you'd use a 14 weight for sailfish, tarpon, or striped marlin. For trout fishing in lakes, a 5 weight or a 6 weight rod is perfect. So this rod here is a 9-foot 6-inch for a 6 weight line. So it's number 6 line. Actually, it's 9 foot 6, and it's 4-piece. And this would be perfect for fishing lakes in a 6 weight or a 5 weight. So here's my reel. Here's the end of my leader on my fly reel. So we've got to string it up through the guides, but you don't want to be using the leader to string it up, because if you let it go, it's going to fall through. So what you do is you strip off a bunch of line till you get to your fly line, and then just bend it over in half and then start stringing it through. And the beauty of this, if you drop it, the loop catches and it doesn't fall all the way back through. So it's just a quick little tip to help you string your line up. So just follow it through. Again, if you let it go, it doesn't fall back. And then we're going to keep going up. And you should never pull on the rod to make it bend over to thread your line, because it's very sensitive here, very thin, and that's how people break a lot of rods. They're reaching for the tip, and instead of moving to thread it through, they bend it sharply over, and you end up breaking the rod. So all the way up. So now the line's through. Now I've pulled through my leader. So now we've got, this is the monofilament, this is your leader. Here's the end of your fly line, and here's my leader. If I wanted to fish with a floating line, long leader, no indicator, I've already got my leader set up, and I just add more monofilament or fluorocarbon, it's called tippet material, to get down to the depth of water you want to be fishing. So for instance, if I wanted to fish floating line, long leader, and I was anchoring, fishing on the shoal in 15 feet of water, then I'd want to be using a leader that's at least about 20% longer than the depth of water we're fishing. So in 15 feet of water, you're going to need to be fishing with a leader that's 23 to 25 feet in length, and that allows you for your fly to sink until you do a retrieve. Because you can't just use a 15-foot leader, because when you're doing your retrieves, you're not going to get your fly close to the bottom. So you need that longer leader, let it sink, and do that nice gradual retrieve up off the bottom. So what I'm going to set up though right now is another very common way to fish with floating lines, and that's with a strike indicator. So I've got the end of my tippet. I'm going to thread on a quick release indicator, like so. So now it's sliding on my main leader, and then I'm using a number 12 barrel swivel. just add a bit more weight, and I'm tying it on with a clinch knot, like so, and you wet it to lubricate the knot. So now there's my swivel tied onto there. And then you can buy tippet material in spools in different weights. So this is 4X, which equals to 6 pound, and 4, 5, 6, 7 pound tippet material is what we typically use for lake fishing. So this is 6 pound. And so I'm just going to take some off the spool, like so. And I need about 24 inches or so of tippet material that I'll tie in below the swivel. So I cut that off. And now I'm going to take the other end of the swivel, thread my line through it. It's called a clinch knot, 7 times around the main line, back through, wet it, slowly tighten the knot, and now we've got our 2 connections. Okay, so now we're at the end of the tippet material here. We're going to tie on our fly that we're going to use. So I've just got a number 12 black and red chronomid, which is, we've talked about, go-to pattern. And I'm tying the fly on with a knot called a non-slip loop knot. So there's the end of my tippet. I'm just making one overhand knot in it, like so, like that. Okay. This is a very important knot to learn for lake fishing, because any fly you fish that's subsurface, i.e. anything that's sinking through the water, you want to use a loop knot because it pivots. The fly is allowed to twist and turn. So I've just threaded it on. There's my overhand knot there. I bump it up to the eye of the fly. This is my tag end, the last end. I'm wrapping it around 5 times around the main line, and then I'm going back through the overhand knot, so, and then wetting it, pulling it tight. So now we've got this loop. The fly's tied on with a loop, so it's free to float around and twist and turn. If it was a clinch knot, again there, the fly wouldn't move, so you add a lot more lifelike action by tying the loop knot. You know the loop knot is done right when the tag end, this short piece, is hanging at 90 degrees from the main line. Okay, so we're just going to take our nippers now. So now we've got the fly on. 24 inches above it is a swivel. Okay, and then the swivel goes from there up onto our main leader. And here's our quick release indicator, which is got a black peg that's leaders through, and we just make a little loop and push it through. So you end up like that, with a little loop there. And then the reason why these things are effective is that when you get a bite, it trips the indicator, and the indicator slides down, so you can land the fish, and the indicator is not way up on the leader. Okay, so now we got our complete system, and we're ready to go fishing. It's pretty simple. You need 2 knots, a clinch knot, a cinch knot to learn to tie on the swivel, the ends of the swivel. And, so it's a clinch knot or an improved clinch, and then the non-slip loop knot, which allows your fly to pivot, and very important knot to learn. And so you can Google these. Just go on Google and type in non-slip loop knot or clinch knot or improved clinch knot, and we're ready to go. And we just take our fly. Rods come with a hook keeper. Just hook it on there, wind in the slack, and we're ready to go fishing. And we'll set our indicator at the depth we want to fish when we figure out where we're going to fish. So there's your floating line system. So here's my sinking line setup. So similar to the floating line, it's another 9.5 foot rod. So 9.5 are good for your sinking lines. It's another 4-piece rod as well. So I put it together, strung the fly line just like I did with the floating line, and then I tied on a little maroon, black and red maroon leech with a non-slip loop knot, again, because you want that fly to undulate and be 50% more lifelike versus tying it with a knot like a cinch knot that doesn't allow that fly to move. And otherwise now with the non-slip, it can swim through the water. And hook keeper is ready to go. This is a type 7 line that's on a wide arbor reel. All the reels I like to use are wide arbor, so that means that the diameter of the reel is quite wide in the middle, so line doesn't develop a memory if it was a narrow arbor reel. And these are reels that I can open face, I can palm them. If I get a really big fish on, I can put my hand down here to slow it down. And they've got a drag system on them. I can adjust the back to increase or decrease the tension on how easily the line goes out. So I can back it right off so it's really easy, or I can tighten it when it's harder to come off. So we're good to go. We've got our 2 lines, a sinking line here and a floating line. And we've talked earlier about the different types of sinking lines, like type 1, 3, and 6 or 7s. So it doesn't necessarily mean you need 3 different reels. You can buy 1 reel and then buy 2 spare spools and put your other 2 sinking lines in that, and then you're covered off on the different lines you need. And then you're going to need another reel for your full floating line. So there you have your basic setups for your fly rod, fly reels, and your lines, and tying the flies on.